Catwoman, issue 35, Ram V writing with Nina Vikova on the art. Does have more direct ties to what's going on because we have the aftermath of Hadley being killed, and
right. That was pretty emotional too because Selena's like, that was meant for me, you know.
Yeah. Well, no, it was meant for her sister to be.
Right, but she also surmises that he knew I was gonna not let that happen.
Yeah, she was meant for my sister, but I was meant to watch or even die trying to stop it. So, kind of meant for her in one way.
Yeah,
right.
But you feel the weight of this aftermath of her walking out of the shadow and kind of confronting the cop who's there, and talking about how they tried to find a valet from the explosion, but they couldn't. And I love as he says that. There's just that panel of him clearly disguised as a firefighter, leaving the crime scene. I love that little touch.
Is that pulling a Hannibal Lecter? Or is there a better comp?
I don't know if I'd call it that, but I can see why you'd call it that.
It's not wrong, but it wouldn't be like how I'd describe it.
So Catwoman's sister's leaving. She's going because it's not safe, but she also feels like anyone who gets close to Selena gets burned, as she puts it. And I actually really like this. There's a little sort of quick flashback as she's like saying this. We see of Selena and Bruce on the roof from earlier in the arc, and it's this idea that Bruce did technically get burned in the sense that the wedding was a kind of a burning point. But other than that, he is the one person who kind of gets close to her and is able to kind of withstand all of the shit that comes with her life.
Far. I suspect this is kind of planting the thought in her brain of, but what if in the future? What if I ruin it for him? What if I hurt him because of that? Yeah,
it's giving her self-doubt and all the rest of it, and insecurities. And then, of course, from here, like all the future state stuff really kicks in, which is all the drones. Because keep in mind, Alleytown is in Gotham. It's not like this is not Bloodhaven where we're out of the city. Yeah.
And the drones have been buzzing by because Saint wanted to make an example out of Alleytown first, so they've had a presence before this even bigger Fear State presence.
Yeah.
Which I like because Catwoman's little group kind of knows how to deal with it, and I like that vibe, and that even matches the Future State story a little bit.
And I mean that's her group of teens that she's been training. But I mean, even without them, there's also this weird anti-hero squad that we saw for the first time the last issue or two.
Yeah.
Which is
the monsters.
Yeah, Croc, Clayface, Knockout, Cheshire, and Firefly. I'm glad they told me who Knockout was because that was the one that I.
We went over this. She's
that first time that they showed up. We were like, who's she again? But sure, she's just there.
Who's this? Is this like some sort of Silver Age Poison Ivy? Is there another one? Like, what's going on?
She's super strong and tall. That's her gimmick.
I don't know.
She's not that tall.
Traditionally, she's supposed to be so. Just saying.
In Matt's dreams is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Maybe. Wildest dreams.
A tall redhead. Yes, Matt's got a bit of a type.
Okay.
So Clayface gives this speech, and I kind of like the idea that Clayface is giving the pep talk about going out and doing some good, because he's the one who actually spent time in a bad team. So this idea that he's kind of like almost out of this group by default, he's the one with the most kind of like sense of right and like hero experience. It's just a nice little touch. I don't know if like Ram V's directly doing that because of that Detective Comics run, but I'd like to think he is.
Yeah.
So this is a quick page of them like fighting drones and robots and whatnot. Catwoman's friend Leo is out the hospital. He's got in his crutches. I'm glad they mentioned his name because I would not have known who this was.
Yeah, I forgot. I knew who he was, but I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, I mean, this is something we've talked about in the past with good comics. Well, even issues into a run will remind you of the names when they first show up. I even appreciate the lettering puts his name in bold that first time, just so make sure that this is who it is. Make sure you catch it and don't just glance over it.
There's a second I'm like, is this meant to be Hadley? Is Hadley not dead? What's going on? Is this a twist? But no, it's Leo. So yeah, but she's in an emotional place. He gives her a bit of a pep talk, saying that she's to get out there.
And then the Oracle shit happens. And Selena immediately is like, this is bullshit. This isn't really her. But is like, well, she sends Batman's dead though. I kind of have to go check. I kind of have to go and help and figure out, right? And she feels bad about it, but Leo's like, look, you've trained these people, these kids, they know what they're doing. You've put them in a good place to defend themselves. They're not going to blame you. So she rides off on her bike, and
it feels like she might be like leaving Alleytown at the moment, and she's at least trying to. But we cut away to Riddler and Penguin is just like, we can capitalize all this magistrate shit going on, this fear state bollocks. We can, if this all happens and the magistrate take control, like whoever has the docks can make a lot of coin.
Make money.
And they're going, they're saying Batman's dead, and he's like, yeah, oh yeah, when's he ever dead? When does he not come back? And they're like, yeah, but while he's sort of dead, we can make our move.
Yeah. While he's not paying attention to us and paying attention to Saint. Yeah, I do kind of like this camaraderie amongst the villains. Just the whole phone call.
It's weird seeing Penguin with the little headset.
Yeah.
Like on a Zoom call, just a little headset. It's so strange.
Times have changed. There was a time where if someone wore a headset and was sitting at a computer, it meant they were a complete computer genius in a comic. Like 20 years ago. Now everyone sits and does Skype and Zoom calls, and
now you ain't special. You're just a zombie.
Yeah. But yeah, and they also talk a little bit about Poison Ivy and how the Poison Ivy down below is kind of weird. Obviously, this is the more docile one. This is not the what was the other one
it's
called?
Not Queen Ivy.
It's not Queen Ivy. Yeah, this is the timid one. But Selena gets attacked by drones when she's on her bike. And gets surrounded by magistrate troops or
great
androids.
Little action sequence of her, with the whip and running here. I love that double page.
Well, I love that she runs into the alley and sort of says, when you get cornered here, it's Alleytown. There's a surprise waiting around everyone, and it's Shoes jumps down and helps. So I really like that sequence. Or this full page because it's like her. The secret, it's like she's at the fire escape at the top, then she sort of bounces off the wall, and there's a sort of parkour kind of.
I really like her Cheshire-esque mask as well.
Obviously, very intentional.
Yeah.
Really tying it together, especially in this issue.
Yeah. So neat stuff. Yeah, I can tease that. So yeah, they're trying to shut down Alleytown, and I actually like if I ever complain about this issue is that pacing wise, I didn't feel like it was about to end, and I turned the page, and was like, oh, the next time text is at the bottom. Oh,
is that just because it went in faster?
I guess maybe. I guess that's kind of an ebb and flow to a comic, and I guess because all the tie-ins are starting now, and because they're all kind of effectively ending on shit's about to go down cliffhangers. I guess getting that again after reading Nightwing, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well. Okay, I guess we're at the end.
I wonder if, because I read this before Nightwing, so maybe because I'd say I probably enjoyed this slightly more, in the sense that maybe this was a bit fresher for me in that way that you didn't have, and then maybe Nightwing was like fresher for you.
Yeah, but as worth mentioning, Oracle does get out a communication on just basically an old radio signal, old school, and. I like the effect of it cutting in and out. The old sort of thing they put in the letter in here. It basically just sort of giving everyone like Batman's not dead. The Oracle voices, it's compromised. Don't trust anything but this feed. If you're in Alleytown, they're coming for you. There's a large, when we see trucks and tanks and whatever on their way. So it really sets up that there's some big stuff going down. And it teases someone in particular in one of the trucks as well. I don't know if I recognize.
No, you can see the arms.
Yeah.
But I think that's it's what's her name who could phase in and out a few issues ago.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So
I'm completely blanking on the name, but it's her who was in that couple of issues.
I call her not Ghost from Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah,
there you go.
The Baba Yaga.
So it says next time a gardener, a clown, and a witch walk into Alleytown. And it does end with a panel of Harley and the gardener, who weren't really in this issue, but were in some of the pages in Batman. So again, it's kind of nice.
That's a name, White Witch.
White Witch.
There you go. So yeah, maybe some fun action next issue then. Again, another good tie-in issue. Is it as good as the regular run issues? No, but it's a really solid tie-in. It doesn't feel like it's betraying anything, and it does feel more ingrained into what the story was doing than Nightwing did. So, and the art's good. Again, it's not as good as the regular art, because maybe that's just partly because we're so used to what that regular art is and what this book's supposed to look like.
I think it's interesting because obviously we know the regular artist being Fernando Blanco is done with the book, isn't coming back on any of these. What we now are the final handful of issues. So I don't think it's fair to call this a fill-in anymore, but it still works with this style.
Yeah, are we getting any issues after the Fear State tie-ins then?
I don't know. There might be one, but I know he was saying that Fear State, this would kind of be the climax of his run because it felt like a natural ending point. So there might be like an epilogue issue, but nothing after that. I'd have thought.
Yeah, maybe like an epilogue issue afterwards to wrap everything up.
Yeah, that'll be a Mozart, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, hopefully it all clicks together.
Especially as, like I say, as tie-in issues go, this still feels pretty beholden to the main run, in that we're still dealing with all the fallout of stuff that's been going on. It's not just dropped everything and gone right Fear State like often tie-ins do.
I mean, presumably we still have to have a big Father Valley kind of conclusion of some kind.
You would think that, or they really want to leave that as he might want to leave that as something for the next writer.
Another writer, yeah, he could be a breadcrumb now because he does have ties to
he failed and he escaped, so it depends whether.
I mean, I hate to compare it to this because I'd be happy if this happened, but maybe this is something where he will use Father Valley in another book at some point, interacting with another character, because now the Selina job is kaput. Didn't work out. Maybe he gets Father Valley gets a job to assassinate someone else, and that feeds into another conflict.
It's possible, yeah.
Maybe it's someone we'll keep playing with. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because obviously initially there's that weird disappointment of, it's not Blanco, and I've never heard of this person. But then as I'm looking at it, I'm like, these action pages are really nice, and shoes jumping down from the fire escape looks really good. So yeah, I had a fun time.
You still got Belair doing the colors that really like ties it together, and those flat colors that this book's had. So it makes it feel pretty consistent, even if it is a little bit different.
Still feels that Blanco had the clean lines, but it felt very gritty, kind of in that way that Sean Phillips does.
Yeah, and then the colors kind of give it that like a bit of a noir feeling to it.
Yeah, and so this, a little bit different, but still in the neighborhood of that grittiness. This one's a little bit more sketch-like than clean, but it still works. But I think you're right with the colors. The colors really do some of the heavy lifting there.
All right, Matt, what are you giving Catwoman?
I'm going to give this a... I did like it a little bit more than Nightwing, so I'll give it a 9.
Ooh, Connor?
8.5.
Probably straight 8 for me, I think, on this one.